Most of you still aren't subscribed. What are you waiting for? Also, I'm doing a giveaway. Stay tuned for the end of the video to find out how you can win 700 gems in Storybook Brawl. Enjoy. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be looking at a pretty weird game, as you might be able to tell from the thumbnail and the title. This is a game on the previous patch that I thought was too wacky not to show off and just wound up being a lot of fun. It's not a typical strategy that I will play on Skip, but, well, it worked out for us. So we are going to start here by picking up a Trojan Donkey and a Falling Stars, and that's going to give us 2 units. Which is pretty nice to have 2 units on turn 2 as Skip, the Time Skipper. So up against Gwen, we actually wind up just crushing them, hitting them for 6, which feels totally unfair as a Skip. But it is going to fall off for us after that. I could see picking up a pair of Mad Mims here. Yeah, I guess that's probably the play. I get to play a 3-3 and then turn my other donkey into a good unit. But I'm going to roll, and these are both great tier 3 units, Brave Princess and Lucky alike. I think I'll go for Brave Princess just so that I can ensure that we'll get these slays on the early game. And then I might consider locking for Lucky. I could pick up Lucky plus the Goat next turn, or I could pick up the Goat plus the Queen of Hearts. So there's definitely some options, but I think I like locking for the Lucky primarily just because it works well in terms of getting some early econ on Skip. I think that Lucky is one of the better units. I know that I've talked about that a lot in the past. I also really like Brave Princess on Skip. So all of that should work out nicely, but Coin of Sharon, or not Coin of Sharon, this is just Sharon here, going to hit us for 4 damage. Sharon pretty strong in the early game. We do have the option between picking up a Mad Mim, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, or we could just pick up the Trophy Hunter. That will ensure that the Brave Princess can slay, and it will give the Donkey a little bit more fighting power. So I really don't hate the Mad Mim here, but it's really close, whether you pick up the Mad Mim or the Goat. It's tough. And then where do you even put the Mad Mim? Probably just put it here to support the Donkey plus the Lucky. And this is just slightly better positioning, so that way the Lucky can make use of the Mad Mim, and then when the Donkey spawns, it will spawn the unit also into the Mad Mim slot. Could still lock for the Goat plus the Queen of Hearts plus the Genie's Wish, but we're going to be level 4 next turn, and I would rather see if maybe Lucky can transfer its bonus onto some level 4 units, because that's how we're going to start to get ahead of the rest of the lobby. Lucky goes down, but so does the Donkey, unfortunately. So we're going to be taking 6 here from the Trophy Hunter down to 27, not last place, because of how much damage we dealt to Gwen early. And we really took the wind out of Gwen's sails there. So that is all pretty silly. I do like potentially picking up the Lady of the Lake. It's quite good on the Donkey and just good in general. Getting to pick up, like I said, a 4-cost unit for only 2, thanks to that little Lucky hit. So that's all nice. Could take a Vampire or an Egg here. There's a few different options. Not sure what I'm going to go with, but looks like I'm going to go for Egg plus a double roll is probably what it has to be after I commit to the first roll. Soul Attack is interesting. Eeny Meeny is interesting. Could sell the Egg and then go for the Eeny Meeny. Oh, wow, I do. And I wind up picking up a Prize Pig. That is a little bit interesting there, to be totally honest. Did not know that that's what I was going to go for. Going to hope that Brave Princess can just slay without the aid of Mad Mim. We'll see how that works for us. But Donkey, a 5'11 Donkey, I think is hopefully good enough to just be able to win all this. And this means that the Prize Pig gets to get a lot of extra cash for us. Fortunately, we're full up when the Donkey triggers, and we're not going to be getting our Slay because we did not support the Brave Princess and we hit their biggest unit, but we summoned 2 eggs off of this donkey plus a Sherwood Shore Shot. So there you go. The donkey just doing a ton of work. Hit my opponent for 10 as a skip. That is absolutely incredible. And you know what? We have this Lady of the Lake here, and we've been doing okay enough in the combats. I do think that we could make Greedy work. And as you know from the video thumbnail, this is going to be somewhat of a Greedy game. So we'll pick up the Greedy. Don't really want to shard any of my units here. Like, I could shard the Unicorn, but don't really care to, and there might be some other things that we could pick up. Donkey seems fine. It's not anything like super impressive, but it's been good for us so far. And then we also have the option here of cutting the Lucky and then just playing a Falling Stars, and this would mean that Donkey is just summoning a random unit for us, but this random unit could be good. The random unit also, or the fact that we're using the Falling Stars also technically gives Brave Princess like 1 extra attack. It allows the Brave Princess to potentially slay just a little bit easier, and I'm kind of debating locking on these Greedies, seeing a few different times that we could take up a Greedy there. And it looks like the Donkey and the Greedy both are going to be pretty reasonable for us on this combat, giving us a few different hits, and Greedy providing us with a ton of extra gold. So the Greedy definitely paying dividends. I'm not typically going for Greedy on skip, but it is one way to make it work. And here I take Crystal Ball. You might also recognize that from the thumbnail. And it's really just because none of these other things do anything. All of the other things are Slay matters, and I definitely don't want to play Slay on skip because that is much more about scaling. And typically, I don't go for scaling on skip. However, Crystal Ball is also kind of scaling too, so we'll see. Supporting all of our units that care about health, we roll into a bunch more Greedies, so I guess we are making Greedy happen, and then could pick up a Fool's Gold, or I could pick up one of these 2 treasures that just got cut in the recent patch. Seems like we'll probably go for Fool's Gold here. It is awkward to take Fool's Gold, though, when we just picked up Crystal Ball. So I guess I'll skip, because then I can sell one more and then pick up a Greedy from there. So that actually makes sense. I like that a decent amount, rather than picking up a treasure that just makes the other treasure that we just picked up pointless. Let's just skip, and that way we can afford to play another Greedy and start GreedBalling and really just pick up all of the gold that we can. I thought that we might have played the Fool's Gold there, but skipping is probably just as useful because we're going to get 2 gold off the skip, and then maybe we'll grab 2 gold off of this Greedy right now. Nope, we'll grab 0 gold, and we are going to grab... Oh, actually, that Greedy survives. Okay, that's nice. But our Donkey gets hit. My opponent just having a huge doubly is going to be able to take us down in this fight. And we're going to lose and donate some gold and take a decent amount of damage. 17 damage there. Not exactly what we were looking for, but maybe we can find a little bit more of what we were looking for now. I'll pick up another Greedy, because why not? We're GreedBalling. We're having fun. And yeah, just looking for more Greedies, more Ladies of the Lake, I suppose. And maybe some tier 5 units or something eventually. I don't really even know what we're doing yet with this game, but it seems clear at this point we're looking for some treasures to potentially push us in the direction of something with this Crystal Ball, but we'll see. So if I sell off some units here, then we can triple up on this Lady of the Lake, which that seems good to me, and we get Forking Rod. Have to take Forking Rod if we are making the Crystal Ball work. And there is still a decision to be had here. Do we want to sell one of our units to put Luna's Grace on our large Greedy? And it will cost us 1 gold effectively to do this. Arguably 2 if we are selling the Lucky. But if we do so now... Oh, that's surprising. I don't actually do it now. I just lock it. Okay, well, fair enough. I couldn't remember. I thought I did this here, but basically, here's where we start GreedBalling. Because extra stats are going to translate into extra coin. and then that extra coin is going to allow us to translate it into extra stats in the next combat. So paying 1 gold to give our main greedy +3/+3 is actually going to, like you would see there, it would have netted us gold in this combat and potentially would have allowed us to win this combat. So I'll pick up the Polywoggle, go for the Luna's Grace, and that's the idea right now. That is the concept of GreedBalling. This isn't a real strategy. Do not replicate, do not try this at home, but it was pretty silly and pretty fun. I'll pick up the pig because, well, a hat would still be great. And then we actually flip this over into a Spellweaver, which is just fantastic. So now we are actually doing something with this comp. The idea here is to find some spells eventually, though we haven't been lucky enough to hit on any spells. Could pick up a Polywoggle, try to triple that, but I think we've got too much other stuff going on the field. Let's just try to find some more spells. The Merlin's Test doesn't really work, but you know what? Lady of the Lake giving that +6 attack, that does seem pretty good. Now we've got a formidable backline. I do think it's worth casting just any spell on the greedy because +4/+4, like I said, it costs 3 right now. It's only +4/+4. It's not like as good as the Luna's Grace was, but it could provide potentially additional gold for us on the next turn. And yeah, this is like the most backwards hat that we've ever been able to don here. Let me don a backwards hat. And we'll see what we can throw together on this one. We're strong right now. We are dealing some nice damage to the rest of this lobby, and this combat works out a little bit well for us. This Gwen is definitely getting the short end of the stick this game, but I'm pretty happy. We've got a Crystal Ball and a Forking Rod, and we even get 6 additional gold this turn to keep the backwards hat rolling. Another Spellweaver could be pretty good just because we do want to find some mages to scale up. We could take out the pig at some point. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I also think that obviously this Aeon makes a lot of sense as we convert our board to mages slowly but surely. Luna's Grace is good. I do want to at least try to slay on the Aeon, so some of the spells are going to go onto the Aeon now, though I'd love to still put some spells on the greedy. I think we've got to get our Aeon to a point where we know that it is going to slay before I am confident given over the reins fully and completely to the greedy. I'll roll a little bit more, find a coin. That's nice. That gives us additional rolls, and Fireball seems like a fine place to end on. I think that we could just end on the Fireball, give our mages a little bit more attack, and see what we've got now going into tier 6. We're almost level 6. I almost never play Hatball on skip because it's just random. We really just fell into it. But speaking of random, my opponent has a Ring of Meteors that is going to give us a bunch of extra gold to kick off our transition into 6th turn. Unfortunately, Greedy does go down there, and my opponent has a really large Wizard's Familiar, but their backline is nothing special. We are going to win this one and hit my opponent for 9 damage. They've also caught up in XP to us, but sometimes that just happens when you're playing Merlin. All right, let's feed something to the Kraken. It's probably just going to be the Lucky, as we'll hang on to our pair of pigs, as well as our pair of greedies. Could pick up Court Wizard because it is a mage. Merlin's Test is absolutely fantastic. That is why you really want the buff onto, or the slay from the Aeon, because that is going to allow you to double some more expensive spells. Then I'll just pick up a pair of Spellweavers, or Storm Kings, I mean. Yeah, that's pretty great. And then I could take a doubled Falling Stars. Don't really love it. Let's just roll for some onboard stats. Don't really love any of these things either, and I think I'm just going to hang on to my pairs. I don't think I'm going to sell anything off here, but you can see any spells that gave attack I did put onto my Aeon, but then any spells that just gave health, which was the oh, that one coin spell, I forget the name of it, but that went on the greedy. So that is where, like, I draw the line there, and I'm still somewhat greed balling, but then also still trying to hat ball. We don't want to greed ball, never go full greed ball. Up against Trophy Hunter, and I feel pretty good going into this combat because these two Storm Kings that we've picked up are really going to make it difficult for my opponent to slay. Also, the spells that they are casting are just going to give me a bunch more cash. So this is pretty fantastic. We make it through their front line without them slaying a single time. All we've got to do is get through this Spellweaver, and we are going to win this one. So Spellweaver not quite going to take out Storm King, and we're going to hit Trophy Hunter for 15. And there you go. Now we are feeling quite strong, right? Burning Palm seems great there, and now we'll just roll for some more spells. We still had like 18 gold to be able to spend this turn. Could have thrown that on the greedy, though. It wasn't a double up spell, and honestly, I hate to say it, but we're probably cutting greedy pretty soon if we can find another Aeon. Greedy's gone. So we do have to assume that it is probably not too long for this world, but before doing that, I will pick up another greedy, and we'll pick up the Moonsong Horn, which is absolutely fabulous for us as well. The Aeon does have a bunch of stats, so at that point I was like kind of considering maybe I would want to give my Spellweavers a little bit more health. That could be good for us at some point. But I think I'm done with the greedy at this point. So I think that I'm going to look for some more health on my other units. Don't really need a Wizard's Familiar at this point. It's a little bit too little too late, and I'll roll with the Masquerade Ball, see if we can find some mages. We don't find any mages, and I will just lock a Feed the Kraken going into the next turn. I could put in the Oni King for the greedy, but I think I'm going to Greed Ball for just a second longer, and oh, do I put it in? No, I don't. So we're up against the worst player in the lobby, so I think we can afford to greed it out just for another second here. We do get the Aeon Slay, and we've got these huge Storm Kings that will ensure that we win this combat. We're also going to be getting a little bit of extra gold on the greedy. Not too much, but just a little bit. If we can attack with the greedy into the Lance, that would have been nice, but this combat's over, and the Celestial Tiger's dead regardless, so it was just about how much free gold we can get out of them. So we're going to go into this next turn with 14 gold up to 18 once we double feed the Kraken, and then up to 20 after we find this lucky coin. Should have cast the lucky coin first, but cannot pretend to that all of your turns are going to be totally optimal when you are hat balling in some capacity. And there was a really interesting line in that shop a few seconds previous there. What I could have done is fed Storm King to my Croc and then picked up an Echowood. The main reason that I don't love that is because the Echowood would have to go in the front line because I already have 3 ranged units in the back line. So it's really just not worth all of the gold investment picking all of that up when it doesn't really improve yourself that much. So we will just be rolling for some more spells on the Aeon, considering this Shrivel right now just because we are almost out of time, and Shrivel is a fine spell for the combat. So I think we'll see a lock on the Luna's Grace here. It's good to lock with any spell. No, I'm going to roll one more time. Okay, and then I don't find anything. I think locking the Luna's Grace was probably right, but it's totally fine. We are going to, I think, still be okay. And the first Shrivel is pretty nice, ensuring that we really don't take any damage there from my opponent's units. Would have been nice to have Greedy still in against this Ancient Sarcophagus, but I will settle for just winning the fight and having slays on both of my Aeons. So now my spells are going to be 3 cheaper this turn, which isn't quite a break point. It doesn't make anything cheap enough to where it's going to get forked. Other than Pigomorph. Pigomorph would actually become a 2-cost spell and be able to get forked. If I take Prized Pig, that could allow me to grab the hat, but I don't think I want to spend... Okay, I do go for it. So it's really only 1 gold here to look for the hat, because I can just skip. So that's fair, actually. Though it's really not 1 gold. It really is 2 gold, because now I can only sell my pig for 1, whereas I would have been able to sell my pig for 2 a second ago. We're going to go for double Gigantify, and then we do actually find the Pigomorph. Have to imagine I'm casting double Pigomorph against a Trophy Hunter. Yeah, that's just a no-brainer. So we'll Pigomorph, and then we find an Aeon. Is there enough time to put it in? What would I have to do? I'd have to sell everything and be down a unit. So I think I just have to lock this here. But one thing that we do get that's nice is I can True Love's Kiss on the Greedy and grab an upgraded tier 6 unit from that. I don't know where my previous tier 6 unit went, but I guess I just sold it to potentially hang on to the pig and hang on to the Greedy, the what was it, the Oni King that we had not too long ago. But then the Aeon seems pretty good, and maybe we can make something work with that. We Pigo their first 2 units. Sorry, Trophy Hunter. That is going to just be enough to win the fight. Nothing else to say there. They've got an interesting combination of treasures looking pretty similar to us, Ball, Fork, Mimic. They are not really a Trophy Hunter. They've more pivoted into a Mage's build, and we are the better Mage. So we're going to hit them for 15 down to 6. Not quite a kill, but pretty reasonable progress. We will TLK our Greedy, and we get another Oni King. Maybe that was just via other stuff before. It was just via Mixawazzle potentially. I'm really considering this Staff of the Old Toad. The thing is, we don't really need this Moonsong Horn, especially with an upgraded Aeon, but that now means that we are not forking the Pigomorphs, which is a pretty big oversight by my part. Wasn't considering that and definitely regretted it. Maybe could have cast the Pigomorph first. But yeah, definitely regretting not having access to that. So let's see, what can we do here? Probably just play the Oni King, not finding any spells here. All right, a Luna's Grace, that's at least something. We really need to slay with the Aeon, so we'll give that some additional attack and health, so that way we can make sure that that sticks around. And I am considering the Pigomorph again, but we're actually going to be playing the Ghost next fight. So don't really need to lock in the Pigomorph. I just wanted to at least be thinking about it, because Pigo is still good. We didn't kill Trophy Hunter. Trophy Hunter's still going to be scary, and we still might need a Pigomorph. And this opponent has a booked deck and a booked, or a mimicked deck and a mimic book. So they start off the combat by casting a Pigomorph, and then they are going to continue the combat by casting a whole bunch of other spells. And this is pretty scary. 2 spells anytime any of their units die. This is one of the premier endgame comps, and going to mean that my opponent is able to win this one and hit us for 10 down to 2. So things get really, really close here. But now we are up against the Ghost. Now I'm actually hoping that Trophy Hunter can take out this Sharon, because I don't want to have to deal with them. We also no longer have the Horn, which shouldn't be a big deal, but here's what I'm thinking. That Pigomorph play was pretty good. And I think we actually can do it again. So you're going to see a pretty interesting play here against the Ghost. I was rolling and hoping to find a Baba Yaga, and now I can use Baba Yaga to support my Aeon, and if we get this Slay, we will have a 4 times reduction on our spells over the next turn. So that is really good. That is what we're going to be going for. True Love's Kiss on Oni King results in Oni King. That doesn't get us anywhere, but spinning gold will give us some gold to go into the next turn with, and Pigomorph puts us in a pretty great spot. We could Pigomorph, and then we could pick up the Aeon, or we pick up the Aeon and then we Pigomorph, dropping the Baba Yaga at that point. We're not going to be casting any other spells, but as long as this doesn't hit the Aeon, we're going to be able to slay here, and now we've got a 4 times reduction on our spells for the next turn, and that is going to mean that we are... It did slay, right? It didn't totally get taken out by this mummy sarcophagus here. Mummy mimic sarcophagus even. No, we are going to win this one, and we're going to have a 4 times reduction on our spells. The only question is, do we get greedy with it? Do we roll for a few spells before we just play the Pigomorph? And I think the answer is we just play the Pigomorph. And I don't actually think I wind up picking up the Aeon here, because what I really want to do is find another treasure. If we can find a 9th book, or if we can find another treasure for these Storm Kings, grabbing a tier 6 treasure, I think both of those things are going to be really fantastic for us. That was why we picked up the staff in the first place, so that we could find a treasure. We are scamming Trophy Hunter again with this double Pigomorph, so Pigomorph just does a lot against Trophy Hunters, even like a Mage Trophy Hunter build. I think that's going to be enough, so full roll down for more treasures I think is fine. Do I want to play the Baba Yaga? I think so. I think we need to play the Baba Yaga. Interestingly, the Trophy Hunter did kill the Sharon, but if we get a slay with this Aeon, that is just going to continue to be really good for us. I'm just afraid. I'm just afraid with this Baba Yaga that it's not going to be enough stats. So I wind up cutting the Baba Yaga. This is me poised to cut the... Oh, I'm actually thinking... Oh, right. I was afraid that the Spellweaver didn't have enough attack in the front as well. Or enough health, I mean. The thing is, like, I really don't want to have a unit that they can easily slay on me. So that was part of my fear here, and part of the reason I wasn't sure if I wanted to play this Spellweaver or not. But it doesn't matter. We're going to Pigomorph both of their slay units, and they're not quite going to be able to get the slay there. So we've got a 4 times reduction on our spells for the next turn. Hopefully we're good enough. I mean, they double fogged us, so this can be a little bit tricky. All of our backline units are just slowly going to do nothing while this thing takes out our front line, but it is going to be enough, and this is going to be enough to kill Trophy Hunter. And like I said, now our spells are 4 cheaper. We're going to be looking to pick up a book of our own by tossing this Baba Yaga here, or tossing this staff is what I meant to say. So I'm going to go for Feed the Kraken on the pig first, and should probably also TLK first, but I'd potentially like to TLK the Nyan Sea Terror, just so that way we've got options for what tier 6 unit we put in this empty slot. And Tree of Life is fine. It is not exactly what I was looking for, but with all of these Storm Kings, I think Tree of Life could actually be somewhat decent. I'll go for the True Love's Kiss. I actually just wind up going for that on the Pumpkin King anyways. Doesn't really matter. Lordy is the replacement. We've got a roll, and this is a really awkward part of the turn here, because I just don't give myself enough time to roll and complete the shop. I really needed to just spend a whole bunch more time rolling. I shouldn't even be casting these spells right now, because I need to find a combat spell, and we are not going to get there. I'm going to wind up just casting a bunch of random spells and growing my Storm Kings by a little bit, and that does help, because these Storm Kings backed up by the Tree of Life are going to be good, but unfortunately my opponent lands a really good Fireball, and that is going to mean that we lose a bunch of stats. They attack with an upgraded Copycat plus Mimic Book is going to mean a ton of spells get cast against me, and not quite in the best order either. We are going to get a little bit more damage on our Storm King, but then it turns immediately into a pig, so that's pretty rough, and then we're going to lose our backline Lady of the Lake. But there's still a chance. We've got a Storm King. If the Storm King doesn't get scammed and we can have our other units die in the interim in there, that's going to heal up the Storm King and allow us to potentially stay in it for this combat. And you look at this, we're looking pretty good. These are going to almost trade, but we come out on top, and then we lose our unit to spells. So that's tough. What's tough about this even more is now we only have a 2x reduction on spells for this turn, I believe. So that is going to make it that we're only casting Oh no, I guess we do have a 4x reduction. Why do we have a 4x reduction? Did we summon an Aeon off the pumpkin? Oh, we must have. Oh, I totally missed that. Okay, so we're still looking for scam here then. We can Piggo our opponent and do some nice stuff with that. I throw away the pumpkin. I shouldn't have. I should just be TLKing the other unit. The thing is, this Bear Stain turned pumpkin does actually have additional stats on it as well. And again, we just don't have the time. Against a Mimic book, you just run out of time in these shops and are not going to be able to cast all of the spells that you need to. So we totally run out of time on this one. I'm going to wind up dreaming at the last second, but the animations mean that I can't even get the dream off. It would have been absolutely wonderful to pick up Sadrak there. It would have meant that we could guarantee attack into that copycat, or just attack into that copycat or that ranged unit with more likelihood. But things are still going to go somewhat nicely here. We really want these hits and spells to land on our Storm Kings, and then for our other units to die. Unfortunately, our Storm King is going to go down, which is really going to reduce the efficacy of our Tree of Life. But we're still looking good in this one with 2 ranged units. Shrivel's going to take out a unit, and then we are going to win this combat again, but with 1 health. Lady of the Lake is not long for this world. We are going to tie again. This time, though, we can transform into Sad Dracula, and then we actually have to transform again. So I go for Merlin over Gwen. I think my rationale behind that was I just would like to spike some additional health on my backline ranged units, but definitely weird, right? Probably just should have gone for Gwen and went for a Knighthood on one of these Storm Kings, but now we're Merlin. We've got a bunch of coin because we're GreedBalling, and hopefully we can find something nice. Skip past that Knighthood as well. Yeah, really rather interesting to not go for Gwen and to go for Merlin instead, but I think it's going to be fine. I think the reason that I did this is because I was initially thinking that we could triple the Storm King and find a treasure. However, as soon as I find the Storm King, I realize that that is not a good strategy, because then I'm going to be down a unit. So I think I just really didn't think everything through enough on this last turn, which is sad, because when you are hatballing, like, there's obviously so much to think about regardless. However, we do get a pretty choice last second spell. Unfortunately, these Pigomorphs are going to be the death of us. But as long as these Pigomorphs don't land on the Storm Kings, or the Rotten Apples land on the Storm Kings. Basically, putting the Storm King inside of a Croc is now good, because it's just an additional summon, which means it's an additional heal. But now we're just left with this Croc, and it's a double Croc with a Storm King inside eventually. But the idea here is that if the Storm King can soak up some damage, like it's doing, these cats will then slowly heal the Storm King. So you see, we're doing actually wonderful work right now with the Storm King soaking up all of these hits, but we're not going to be able to... Oh, maybe we've got this ranged unit? You know what? That would have been really nice on the Storm King. That's going to mean we've only got 1 more unit to go. We need to attack into... Well, it doesn't matter. They cast 2 spells and they kill us. But that was still a really fun game, a really epic conclusion there on that final battle, with us tying with our opponents twice. And there you can see a little bit about why they decided to break up the 9th book and the Mimic chest. Those 2 treasures combined are just such a powerful endgame scenario, with a bunch of extra options on those supports. Or like, you can just play any mages, is what I mean to say. My opponent happened to be also playing units that were scaling, like you can play some Storm Kings, Wizards, Familiars, Spellweavers, Aeons, etc. But you can also just play any mages, and like I said, you can also throw a copycat in there. So that is why we have seen that get changed in the newest patch, and I am going to be rolling out videos on the new patch soon, but I did think that this was a really fun game, mostly because it was just a totally interesting way to put together a hatball comp. You don't typically see hatball on Skip, and you don't see typically Greedy work as that hat until you're able to pick up an Aeon. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace. I'm going to be giving away a 700 gem bundle at the end of this month, and here's how you can enter for your chance to win. First things first, subscribe to this channel. That won't enter you into the raffle, but you will have to be subscribed to win. In order to enter into the raffle, all you have to do is comment on a Storybook Brawl video, including this one. Every time you comment on a Storybook Brawl video on my channel this month, you'll get a raffle ticket for my January giveaway. If you comment on a video within the first 72 hours of me posting it, then you get 2 raffle tickets. And if you comment on a video within the first 24 hours of me posting it, I'll give you 3 raffle tickets. Might also offer more ways to enter in the future. I don't want to break the economy of this. I want the main way to enter to be commenting. So leave a comment right now. Let me know what you think of the giveaway and of the video. And thanks for watching.